Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most intense and fascinating microscopic battlefields known to science, the human lung during a tuberculosis infection. We're going to break down exactly how and why our immune system builds a desperate, physical, cellular prison to fight an enemy it simply cannot kill. Think about this biological paradox for a second. How do you stop a pathogen that literally uses your own frontline defenders as a safe house? Mycobacterium tuberculosis, the bacteria responsible for TB, is an absolute master of evasion. See, when most bacteria enter the body, our immune cells gobble them up and destroy them. But TB, it actively wants to be swallowed. It turns our own defense mechanisms completely upside down. To see how our body responds, we first have to understand the infiltration. Let's look at Section 1, the Trojan horse infection. Okay, here's how this plays out step by step. First, the virulent bacteria are inhaled right down into the distal air spaces of your lungs. Next, your alveolar macrophages, you can think of these as the immune system's patrol cars, arrive on the scene, spot the intruder, and swallow the bacteria whole. Normally, this is where the story ends for an invading microbe. But then we hit step 3. Once inside the macrophage, the bacteria essentially jam the locks. They actively block the formation of the phagolysosome, which is the cellular digestion chamber meant to destroy them. TB just survives the arrest. How do they pull off this hijack? It's a very specific chemical chain reaction. Once swallowed, M. tuberculosis actually recruits a host protein called corinin right to the membrane of the vesicle it's trapped in. Corinin then activates an enzyme called calcineurin, and this specific combo completely stops the lethal fusion of the cell's digestive lysosomes. The result is wild. For the first 3 weeks of infection, the bacteria just replicate unchecked, perfectly protected inside the exact cells that were supposed to destroy them. But your immune system isn't defeated, it's just mobilizing. After about 3 weeks, the narrative shifts dramatically in Section 2, the immune counterattack. So, what does your body do when it faces an unkillable enemy? It builds a granuloma. Now, a granuloma isn't just a symptom of TB. It is a highly deliberate, defensive containment strategy. It's a cellular attempt to trap an offending agent that's exceptionally difficult to eradicate. If the immune system can't flush the bacteria out, it literally builds a maximum security prison around them. The entire core purpose behind this structure is absolute, desperate containment. The orders to construct this prison come from a specialized group of T cells called T1 cells. These are the generals of the immune counterattack. They rush to the lymph nodes and the lung, and they start secreting a critical cytokine called interferon gamma, or IFN gamma. This chemical sounds the alarm and radically arms the macrophages. Under the influence of IFN gamma, those jammed phagolysosomes finally mature. The macrophages start pumping out lethal nitric oxide, deploying antimicrobial peptides called defensins, and even stimulating autophagy to literally digest their own infected components. It's a massive, astonishing deployment of chemical weapons. But chemical weapons alone aren't quite enough. We have to move from chemical warfare to physical containment, which leads to Section 3, building the cellular prison. Under the extreme stimulation of those Th1 cytokines, our macrophages basically undergo a biological Hulk-out. They structurally transform. They develop abundant pink granular cytoplasm and lose their distinct cellular boundaries. Because they start to look more like epithelial cells, the ones that make up our skin and organs, we call them epithelioid cells. They change their shape so they can aggregate and stack tightly together, literally like bricks in a wall, fencing the bacteria in. Looking at the architectural layout of this microscopic structure, you can see exactly how the granuloma is organized. Right in the center is the infected area. Surrounding that, you have those tightly packed epithelioid macrophages acting as the inner wall. Outside of that, there's a dense color of lymphocytes acting as an outer guard. And as the granuloma ages, a rim of fibroblast and connective tissue forms around the very edge, locking the entire structure down tightly. To truly seal the perimeter, the immune system takes things one step further. Inside the granuloma, multiple activated macrophages will actually fuse their cell bodies together. They create these massive structures called Langerhans giant cells. We're talking 40 to 50 micrometers in diameter, packed with a huge mass of cytoplasm and multiple nuclei. It really highlights the extreme, desperate lengths the body will go to, fusing cells together just to build massive, impenetrable guard cells right on the front lines of this infection. Now, this incredible defense mechanism does come with severe collateral damage. Let's look at Section 4, the cost of war.
Here, we have a protective goal aggressively clashing with the devastating reality. The primary goal of the Th1 immune response and the resulting granuloma is simple: contain the indestructible TB bacteria, stop it from spreading. But the result of this intense, highly concentrated battle is something called caseous necrosis, which is unfortunately a form of massive, localized tissue death.
So what exactly is caseous necrosis? Well, inside the core of the granuloma, the environment gets incredibly hostile. There's a total lack of oxygen, hypoxia, and a flood of tissue-destroying free radicals released by those activated macrophages. This combination intentionally creates a dead zone to starve out the bacteria, but in doing so, it completely destroys the normal lung architecture. Under a microscope, the tissue loses all its cellular details and turns into this amorphous, structureless, granular debris that actually resembles cheese, which is why it's called caseous. The body is effectively destroying parts of its own lung to build this dead zone prison, desperately sacrificing tissue to save the rest of the organism. Which leaves us with this delicate, paradoxical balance to ponder. The granuloma is an absolute marvel of cellular engineering, a desperate, calculated attempt to wall off an unstoppable force. Yet the tissue destruction it causes is exactly what leads to the severe coughing, cavities, and lung damage we associate with tuberculosis. It really begs the question, is our greatest biological defense mechanism actually the source of the disease's most devastating symptoms? It's a fascinating look at the sacrifices our immune system makes every single day to keep us alive. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible science happening right inside of you.